Hello and welcome to the Main Cave. This is the PlayStation Vita, and if you didn't know already, it is brilliant. And in this video, I want to run down 5 of the reasons why, if you haven't even considered one, you could pick one up for a bargain and have access to some great games, all handheld. Then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you one reason why you may not want to pick one up. So I've owned this insanely underrated machine for several years and I still haven't put it in the drawer along with my other lost consoles. I still use it and I want to spend a few minutes appreciating the Vita and tell you that if you haven't got one, look at getting one, as there is a lot to love about this, especially at the price. Speaking of price, you could pick one up second-hand from a high street store for around £90 in the UK, depending on the model and the state that it's in, seeing as you can't buy these new and you will always need to buy them second-hand. So in this video I'm going to be using my Vita, which is the original 1000 model, the PCH 1103. Sony did release a newer version called the Slim, which had the 2000 model number a few years after, with some minor upgrades and for me, one noticeable downgrade. This downgrade is that the 1000 has an OLED screen, whilst the 2000 has an LCD screen. For me, the OLED is superior, but really you'll only notice it if you put them side by side, so either the 1000 or the 2000 is worth picking up if you only have access to one over the other. There are a few other minor upgrades on the 2000 that has things like internal memory and slightly better battery, but apart from that they look and play very much the same. Also in this video I am not going to be comparing it too much to the Nintendo Switch. The Switch is its own beast and can't really compare, seeing as new titles still to this day come out exclusively for the Switch and have done for the past 7 years. The Switch was released in 2017, but there was still some overlap, but no way at the time they were competitors. The Vita was pitted against the 3DS, which had some very good games. It did, however, steal a lot of the headlines with its AAA titles, but the Vita was still doing its thing with some stellar titles for an ever-growing loyal fanbase. And this leads me nicely onto the first reason, and probably the main reason to pick one up, or any console in fact, and that is the games. So the games, geez, this thing has some games. If you love your JRPGs, then this has some belters. My personal favourite, and one that comes at the top of a lot of JRPG great lists, is the Persona 4 Golden. While I won't be reviewing any of these games, I can tell you that this one is brilliant, a game worthy of any platform. Also, there are other gems as well, just to stray away from JRPGs for a second, such as Gravity Rush, Uncharted, Golden Abyss, Dragon Quest Builders, Spelunky, Hotline Miami, Tearaway, Fez, Minecraft, GTA, Guacamole, Little Big Planet, Rayman, a smattering of Final Fantasy games. I really could go on. Ratchet & Clank, Terraria, Velocity, Rogue Legacy, well, you get the idea. So if you want a handheld that plays some top quality games, then the Vita really does deliver. And if you look around, you can pick up some of these games that you can sink hours into. Well, actually mean 3 to 5 hours in one go, which leads me nicely on to number 2, the hardware. The battery on the Vita isn't that bad. You can reportedly get enough for around, say, about a day's gaming, but anything more than gaming on and off throughout the day, then you're going to need to plug it in. Charging it is a difference I didn't mention earlier between the 1000 and the 2000. The 2000 uses micro USB, which at the time was great. The 1000 uses a proprietary cable, which isn't so much of a pain as you'd think, as you can easily pick one up for a few pounds or dollars on Amazon. My one cost me £4.25 and it's lasted me for years. Sometimes I forget that the Vita was released in 2011 or 2012 in the US and EU, and that's 10 years ago. It was competing with the 3DS, as the Switch wouldn't be out for a further 5 years after the Vita's release. So what is so special about the hardware? The Vita at the time had groundbreaking tech. It has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, it has an OLED screen on the 1000 model, and on some models you could put a SIM card in and use mobile data. Think about that, you could put your own SIM card into your console and use the internet on it whilst out away from the house 10 years ago. I mean, nowadays it's far easier to use a hotspot, but back then it was unbelievable. It also has a cool feature that on the rear has a touch sensitive pad, but if I'm honest, the number of times I've actually used it in anger I could pretty much count on one hand. And there's also one thing that slips under the radar, the introduction of the second thumbstick. Handhelds didn't really have them before the Vita, albeit there weren't many to go before it. The norm was a thumbstick to the left and either a D-pad or a set of buttons to the right. Today's handheld market consists of mainly the Switch, us with the Vitas, some 3DS players and a whole bunch of retro handheld console players. Only the new retro consoles and the Switch have a right thumbstick. The Vita was a pioneer. So much so, a lot of games were rewritten to accommodate that thumbstick, mainly for use when there were rubbish camera controls. One other negative though of the hardware was the use of proprietary memory cards. The Vita's memory card had to be used, and of course they added a Sony tax on top of it just to try and eke out as many pounds or dollars from the users as possible. You know that spare micro SD card you have laying around? Yeah, but you can't use it. Or can you? Which leads me nicely on to number 3, modding. So modding, unlocking, or to give it its more ominous title, hacking, is pretty easy to do on the Vita. But before I go any further, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. So if you do want to know more, then just simply Google it. But the reasons I mention this because you can use your own memory card with an adapter, making it far more convenient. But you do need to unlock the Vita. Fourth on the list is a reason to own a Vita is remote play, or using it as a second screen. This thing is brilliant. It's 10 years old, but can still play PS4 games remotely. The PS4 is still going strong, even though it's a generation behind, yet the Vita can hold its hand and play alongside. It's amazing. All you need to do is tweak a couple of the settings on your PS4, link your Vita, and away you go. Officially, you can't use the Vita while away from your home network, but there are YouTube videos out there that tell you that have successfully achieved this. And there's also a feature called second screen, whereas you can use the Vita as, say, a map whilst playing the game on the PS4 and using your Vita as a guide. Number 5th on my list, lastly, if you still need a reason why I think this is awesome, is because of simply of the software. A lot of consoles just have a rubbish OS which you have to put up with and wait patiently for updates to roll out, and that adds things like folders in 2022 and still no themes. It's easy to dismiss it as just another OS, but it does things like that to keep your gaming state after a power down if your Vitas run flat. The combination of click and screen swipes are intuitive, folders, the whole music, themes, apps alongside games, all touch sensitive or using the thumbsticks. One tap of the PS button brings up shortcuts, so many neat features. It's all snappy, responsive, and has no signs of slowing down after all of these years of use. So there we have it then. As I said at the start, buying a Vita is an excellent decision, even in 2022. But there is one thing to watch out for the months and years of roll on, and here is a reason why you may not want to buy one, and that's game prices. So there is a digital store for games that you can still buy games from. Sony last year made it a bit trickier to buy the games, but I guess seeing from the Vita, that isn't their main focus. So you do kind of need to buy PS credit first. So Sony could pull the plug and you could be left with only the games you have bought with and you're unable to get any more, but for now at least you can still get them digitally. So what I hear you say, I could just buy them physically. Yeah, you could, if it's not for this reason. Some of the better hidden gems on the Vita are getting expensive. Most are okay. Uncharted is a palatable £18, but it's the other games that are brilliant on the Vita that are getting quite pricey. Ys 8 is £90, it's £35 digitally. Axiom Verge is £52, Ratchet & Clank is £50, Terraria is still £25, which is twice as much as the digital version. Albeit this is only some of the popular games, it's worth considering if you are a fan of the physical titles. So there we have it then, a rundown of the 5 main reasons why I still have a love affair with the Sony's handheld beast, the PlayStation Vita. Do you still own one? What's your favourite feature? What's your favourite game? Do let me know down in the comments below. Thanks very much then, and until the next video, bye bye.